Welcome, Internet. I'm Michael Slezak from TVLine.com. I am here with Clark Beckham from American Idol, runner-up on season 14.
Yes, sir.
I have questions. I have this many questions for you.
Excellent.
No, just 3 pages worth. But we want to talk about your whole American Idol journey and what you went through and how you picked your songs and all that good stuff. So I'm just curious, though, why season 14? Why was this the year you decided to do it? A lot of people come in at 15 or 16. They can't wait to get on. I always think it's better to wait till you're an adult.
I completely agree. I was going to audition when I was 18. I was going to come right out of high school and go audition. And I just, I just felt like I wasn't supposed to. I prayed about it, and I just no, it's not right. And then I went to college instead, and then graduated from Lee University. And there I grew so much mentally and musically, physically, every way. I just became who I am now. And I would have never been able to do the stuff I was able to do on the show
without those 4 years.
Without those 4 years, and when I was 18, I was not ready at all.
When you were praying about it, was it like a decision between college and auditioning for Idol, or was it?
It was just if I should audition or not. Really? And I was just like,
something in you said, let's not do this right now.
Said no, and I am now, of course, hindsight. It was the perfect decision to not, and to that I can now. Yeah. It was the best season for me. It all lined up well.
Excellent. So you pick "It's a Man's World" or "It's a Man's World." We should get the title correct for your audition song. Was that something you'd done a lot before, and how hard was it for you to come up with your audition song?
I had actually I'd sung "When a Man Loves a Woman" originally, but they couldn't get it cleared for the judges' audition. So yeah, that is my song. Okay. That's my song. If they say, okay, here's one song, you have one song, one chance to sing to prove you're the next American Idol. That's the song. Either that or Georgia. Okay, but
"When a Man Loves a Woman" maybe by a nose over Georgia.
Maybe so. Maybe, I don't know, because they're very different as far as instrumentally. But anyway, "A Man's World" is a song that was good for the audition because it hit hard the first note, and was very my style, very pocket, very groovy and classic, and had a lot of room for me to sing all over the place on it, tastefully. And it's just one of my favorite songs ever. Was there any
intimidation factor in front of the judges, and how did you feel about their response once you got it?
For some reason, I wasn't nervous. I thought I was going to be, and for the audition itself, I really wasn't nervous when I got out in front of the judges and everything, because I was actually, they didn't show it this way, but I was actually the very first contestant to audition on the first day of the first city.
Get out.
So I was actually the very first person to sing for the judges of season 14.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And you were one of the very last people to sing.
And I was the second to last standing. So that was
insane.
That was cool. But yeah, I sang it, and after I did the audition, right after I stopped singing, I was like, I killed it. I was like, that was good. I feel like I did really well. And then, because everyone in the holding room when I was practicing, they were like, "Wow, you're great. You're gonna sail through." And I'd watched the show, and I had thought, I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna get 3 yeses, and I'll do okay here. Right. And immediately they were like, I thought it was really good. And then Harry was like, I think you're very talented, but I don't think you're ready. I'm gonna say no. I was like, oh shoot, oh crap. And then Keith was like, why did you pick that song? I was like, well, that grit and that soul. And he's like, yeah, that's what I didn't get any of. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Are you going down for the count?
And then he was like, I don't know. You know what? I'm going to say yes. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it. And then J-Lo was like, we have to look at, we have a checkbox, for the, to really, the full package kind of we have a list in our heads, and, you have to really be everything. I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to go home. I came out here, and I felt so good, and they're not even going to let me in. And she said yes and saved me, and I made it. But it was a hit right at the top. But honestly, all I wanted to do afterwards, they kept wanting to get me shots of me going, yeah, I made it. I wasn't happy. I was happy I made it, and I was really excited.
It was not a joyous.
But it wasn't like, I was like, I need to get into a practice room right now.
Yeah.
Like, I need to get better. I don't want to do this B-roll stuff. I want to get in a practice room so I can come back to Hollywood Week and give them nothing to critique.
Yeah.
Take everything they said and just explode.
I loved your audition, though. Did you watch it back? I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I watched the audition back. I was like, I did kill it. Like, that was good.
Right. I don't know what Harry's... Maybe it was because it was, he hadn't had anything else to compare it to and just wanted to be really tough to start out. But...
I guess so, but it was the very first audition, so that's tough. Because some people think that they heard... a lot of singers, and then me, and then, weren't really feeling it. But the reality was they didn't have anybody to compare me to. I was the first one for the whole season.
So from showcase to top 12, I've got written down here, you did Georgia on My Mind, When a Man Loves a Woman, Tracks in My Tears, It's a Man's World. Very old soul, ballady. Was there any part of you, and I feel like you were kind of solidifying your position as a front runner, but there were people saying, like, can he do anything else? And there's that banging the drum to be current all the time. Did that cross your mind? Were you worried about that, or you just thought, at this point, I'm going to do what I love?
Well, at the very, very beginning, like you said, from showcase to top 12, that's the easiest to get cut, I think, because America's voting, and there's 24 people to vote for.
Yes.
Widespread. And there's I think it went from 24 to
16 to 12.
So 8 people go home after one. So
you're almost better off being bad than you are being in the middle, because people forget to vote for people in the middle.
I was like, I have to explode through here, or I could get lost. So I just did what I do best, which is that older retro soul R&B kind of thing. And it was funny because everyone else was tweeting out, the artist that they were singing their song. They'd tweet the artist and say, and then sometimes that artist would reply or a favorite or retweet or something. They'd freak out. And I was like, well, I haven't sung a song yet by someone who's still alive, so much less has a Twitter account. Michael McDonald was actually the first, Taking It to the Streets was the first song that I sang where the artist was still alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had not thought of that. That's unbelievable. And so, had you gotten a retweet, that would have been frightening any time before Michael McDonald.
It would have been. But, I really believe that popular music today is kind of getting back to that. I mean, you look at the charts, and it's really soulful, and there's groove in that kind of R&B feel and different things. And the reality is, the show is you sing cover songs. Yeah. I can't show who I am completely, because I think a lot of current stuff doesn't fit me perfectly, but I think older stuff fits where I will be currently in current music. Right. And that's why later I was able to sing like Sunday Morning and things like that, and put my thing on a current song. But it's the sound really stayed the same, whether it was The Trouble with Love Is with Kelly Clarkson, or It's a Man's World, or Sunday Morning,
which couldn't have been further apart in terms of decades.
Right, and Every Breath You Take. Yeah. I mean, it was all, the sound was still me no matter what era.
Right. Gotcha. It's interesting talking about Taking It to the Streets, because when you did that at top 11 versus when you did it, I thought it was one of my least favorites of yours. You didn't seem as into it, but when you did it in the finale, it was like you were alive and into it, and I was like, now I get why you did this. And you got a little bit of a critique. That was one of your first tough critiques from the judges that week. How did you feel? Did you watch it back? Are you a contestant who watches your stuff back? You do.
Absolutely.
I never understand when people don't watch it back.
I don't either. I grew up in sports, and the best way to get better was to watch game film back and to see, and I absolutely do that. If on paper, you look at the song and you just hear it and you're like, oh, that's so a Clark song. Yeah. Playing piano and singing and screaming. And for some reason, it just never clicked for me. In top 11, I would play it, and I don't know, it never clicked for me.
Did you feel it going in? Were you worried? Or only afterwards?
I wasn't worried. But inside I was like, I don't know why. This isn't working for me. Maybe it's one of those things where I feel like I'm not feeling it, and then I sing it and everybody goes crazy. Yeah. But I was like, I'm singing the notes right. I'm doing this. I'm playing the piano right. I don't know why it's just not it's not clicking for me. And again, we don't have time to really think and ponder and practice songs. You got to pick your
Right.
song and go for it.
Right.
Uh,
You're probably
just from
recording
week to
it on
week.
a Saturday and moving
Exactly.
it on. And
Exactly. So it was just perfect song for me if you just think about it on paper. But when I actually sang, I don't know why it just didn't click for me. And then when Michael was there for the finale, first of all, I had learned it better.
Yeah.
And it was a very specific cut, and he actually didn't come to the day of the show just because he was busy, and so I just listened to his cut, his specific arrangement of the cut, which was different from the original, and just did my homework and had to learn it. Almost kind of imagining it like I would find like a flat surface, and I'd imagine playing the chords right as I would listen, because we didn't have a keyboard all the time.
That's
practice.
Very intense.
So I would actually pretend that I had a keyboard and it was really just a desk or a table, and I would remember where the keys are, and I'd hear, and I'm like, okay, that's what's happening here, and okay, that's what's going on here, and I would remember, and that's how I learned the arrangement, and then we did it. This
is quite possibly my favorite behind the scenes detail all season. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like from top 11 redo to top 6 week, you had an incredible run of performances, and kind of by the time we got to that point, people were just saying, like, there's no way Clark is losing this season. And every time Reality Check, Melinda and I would discuss who was the front runner, who was pulling ahead, and people would just tweet me and be like, you're an idiot because Clark has already won, and why are you even bothering to not acknowledge that? Did you listen to that chatter? How much did you hear online or from the blogosphere, and did that get in your head at all?
I stopped. I would only really read either what my parents would send me and say, look at this is really great of you, or great, they're speaking highly of you, or I'd watch TVLine. I'd watch Reality Check. That's the only thing I'd own. That's it. And all the contestants would mainly watch. But when it got down to specifics, when it was top 12 or close, I stopped watching and reading anything.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't read anything because of that. It could get inside and affect.
Yeah.
And I could disagree or agree, or so my head could get too big,
mm-hmm.
or I could get discouraged. So I just stopped all of it. So.
But did you know you were the front runner? Or did people say, like, you're the front runner, like, behind the scenes? Because you can't stop saying that to you.
Yeah, I mean, people would say that. I think everybody thought that, and I felt that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I never thought about it, or it never played a part in anything I did.
Okay. Sunday morning, we've got to talk about that. That was top 11 redo. That was so cool. It was, I think, one of your best moments on the stage. Did you know it was going to be great? And tell me about the arrangement of it, because you really kind of stripped it down to the bare bones.
I felt really good about it. It was actually an arrangement I had prepared to audition with from the very beginning.
Okay.
But I thought I might need, because the audition is such a quick snippet of a song, I thought I'd need to do something that's bigger right at the top.
Yeah.
So I'd had it, and I was dying to do it for something. And then movie night, and I found out it was in a movie, and I was like, done. I'm doing it. And
what movie was that in?
Cheaper by the Dozen 2. So, and
you stretched the theme, but you made it work.
But I actually remembered it from Cheaper by the Dozen 2. And I actually love Steve Martin, and I love the movies, Cheaper by the Dozen. I really do. So a lot of people looked at me like, really? Really? Cheaper by the Dozen 2? And it was only on for like 20 seconds at the end of the song, at the end of the movie. But I saw the opportunity, and I did it.
You have to take those opportunities.
Yeah. So the whole song is, originally it's 3 chords, and it's what jazz is based on, really, is 2-5-1. So the first chord is a 2 minor chord, and the next one is a 5, and the next one is a 1. That's kind of like the foundation of a lot of like Frank Sinatra songs.
Okay.
A lot of those classic Rat Pack songs, a lot of Christmas songs, that kind of old fashioned is 2-5-1. And with that base and foundation, there's just all these little branches musically you can go and do and change, and like music theory, and you can go here. And so I just kind of let my mind open up and wander and change a bunch of different things. And I have to say, it wasn't, when I played it, I was like, this is going to be a really cool moment. But in behind the scenes when we would play stuff for mentor Scott and for producers and everything, they weren't necessarily a fan of it. They
Really?
weren't against it.
Okay.
They're like, I think it'll be a nice moment, but I think you need to do something bigger or something. And then some would, I won't say names, but some would say, oh, there's just too many chords, too many chord changes, and it's too much. It's too much, and the average person won't get it. And I'm thinking in my head, the average person won't know the 2-5-1 and the stuff I like. They won't know that, but there's this universal. You can feel it. It's good music, and
right.
and I was confident all the way, and some others weren't. But I was really happy that I got to do it, and that when I did it, I got to really show a current song, and all these different chord changes, and where I could really let my music theory mind,
go there,
blast wide open.
Yeah. I never understand when people are against quiet moments, because I think sometimes quiet moments are as impactful, if not more, than explosive ones. And I wish we had your explanation of 2-5-1, because I'm not a music theory guy, but now you're making me think of like chestnuts roasting on an open fire or something.
Oh,
when you're talking about Christmas music,
and I'm
like,
I could show you.
People know this. I think people are
songs.
smarter, even if they don't know the terminology. I think the average Idol viewer is smarter than sometimes.
Yeah, and I love explaining it too. If we had a piano here, I could show you. I could show you what it is, and we do a whole thing.
Fox needs a Saturday night show. Music theory with Clark Beckham.
I would love it.
So Every Breath You Take was your follow-up to that. Mm-hmm. Tell me about picking that one. That's always a song, like other contestants have done it in past years, and then there's a debate about what the lyrics mean and how they should be interpreted, and is it stalkery enough? I thought you made it into a heartbreak song, full on, and it just felt incredibly sad, and I felt like you really connected to that one in a big way.
I did. Every Breath You Take was maybe my most important performance I did, and it was the one that I felt the most and connected to the most. It was Scott's idea. Scott Rochetta, it's his idea. I was looking for 80s Week. I wanted to do a Stevie Wonder song, but it wasn't a hit in the 80s, so we were dancing around, and he was giving me some ideas, song choices, ideas, and that was one of them. Was Every Breath You Take. He's like, what about just Every Breath You Take, just you on the piano? Because I told him that was the idea I wanted, someone just me on the piano. And so I started messing with it, and again, we don't have time to arrange it, so I actually arranged that because we don't have a keyboard around except in the holding room right before we go sing for the producers and for the vocal coaches and stuff. So I just kind of sat down and arranged that in about 5 minutes just before we went out. Wow. I didn't have time, so that was what came out in just about 5 minutes before, while everyone else was eating their breakfast and talking. I was trying to figure out, and really, piano is kind of just an extension of my soul, really. Mm-hmm. So I can start, if something goes wrong, if something like heartbreak, I can literally just play the piano and I'm not even thinking about the chords I'm playing. I'm just emoting through that.
Wow.
And so I found out the original story to that song, Every Breath You Take, and how, it was something I could relate to. And I took it as, I think the deepest dread is when something really horrible happens and it's your fault. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've unfortunately am familiar with in past relationships and other things, where I feel like I messed up something great, and I took that and it's almost like I don't want to think about you every breath I take, mm-hmm. and every breath you take. I don't want to be, but I can't help it,
right? Because
you've got such a hold on me, and now it's gone, and I messed up, and I can't help it. And I would love to say that I don't watch you everywhere you go and think about you all the time, but I'm hopelessly heartbroken and hopelessly for you, and this is just the reality. And it's very deep, and I could go into a 20-minute backstory on every lyric, and how I take it, and even every chord change, mm-hmm. And how the melody and the chords and the lyrics are all parallel with the emotion that I feel I would have singing that specific type of lyric, and I really dove deep into it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it worked. You could tell. I also can't believe that they don't have keyboards around. I imagine you guys sort of like in a musical world where there's like all kinds of instruments around and you're hanging out. And
Yeah.
there's none of that.
There's randomly, like sometimes we'll go 2 weeks with nothing, and then there's one in a holding room for the rest of the time. But at that point in the show, there really wasn't much place for me to go.
Whoever's producing next season, do not starve the contestants of their instruments, for God's sake. So Kelly Clarkson week comes around. I think everyone was super excited because she was an amazing mentor, but also vocally her stuff is pretty challenging because she's Kelly Clarkson.
Yes, it is.
And I felt like The Trouble with Love was it almost felt like it could have been written for you as well.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Was that an obvious choice for you, or did you noodle around with other Kelly songs that week?
I wasn't familiar with that song. It was the first song I sang on the show that I'd never heard of.
Okay.
And I was listening because they gave us a big list of all of her songs that we could do, and I was listening through. I was like, okay, I could do this. Okay, I could change this up. And I had just done a ballad on piano, so I was like, I don't want to do another ballad, although I could, and change something up. And then I heard The Trouble with Love Is, and I'm telling you, I heard the first, I had decided that I wanted to sing that song before I even heard her start singing.
Just from the intro.
Just from the intro. It was like an organ vamp thing. It was like, wow. And I was like, that's it. That's the song I'm singing. And then I started hearing her sing, and just the first line, love is many splendid things, can't deny the joy it brings, dozen roses of every day. And I was like, that's it. That's my song. And so at that moment, I selected it, and I was like, that's it. It's going to be great.
I felt like it was a Reverend Beckham moment. Like you at the end, you were just like,
I love that.
Took it to church, and it was crazy. But it something seemed to take over you by the end of that song.
Yeah, a big octave jump and just growl and scream and shout and yeah. I loved it. It was so much fun.
Top 7 week, you got the feel bad compliment of the season when Harry was like, I think you're the only musician possibly left on this stage. How awkward was that? Like, I know it's a compliment in a sense, but you're also up there with all of your fellow contestants. And I think they cut to everybody else and they were like,
yeah. When I heard that and I understood what he was saying. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess maybe he thought of like my mind, like I think like an instrumentalist. Mm-hmm. And a lot of time musician and instrumentalist are people will say them as the same word,
right? When
they're not necessarily. Musician is someone who does music, so right. A singer or a drummer, or But I think what he meant was instrumentally, and that's my mind. That's how I think all the time. I think about the chords. I think about the harmonies being played and everything. But he actually, I know personally that he actually, after the finale, when Harry finally was able to talk to us, he went to Nick personally and said, I'm so sorry for saying that. Right. He's like, it was live TV. I didn't mean it. Right when I said it, I was like, why did I say that? That's not right. And he apologized to Nick, off camera and everything. He was like, I don't know why I said that. But I guess that was the idea that he had in his head.
Gotcha. Judges can be pitchy too in their own way.
Of course.
Superstition, top 6 week, I thought was, again, maybe right after Every Breath You Take, maybe my second favorite of yours. But you kind of got bluesy on the guitar. You had your back to the audience.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that idea?
That was another one where I was getting so much flack on playing the guitar. Like, don't play the guitar. Don't play the guitar. Put the guitar down. Put the guitar down. I was like, no. I play guitar. I'm a guitar player. I love it. And it's fun. It sounds good. And I'm good. It's not like I'm playing bad notes. You need to just ditch the guitar. And I was like, I can't help it. I'm going to play it.
And then you made it a big thing at the beginning.
Yeah. And that's something that I do that was just a kind of a moment where I wanted to show something that I could do that not everyone else could do. And that's something that I love doing is singing parallel to what I'm playing. And that's something that, a lot of my heroes musically, like Johnny Lang and countless, Peter Frampton, a lot of people do, is they'll sing and then sometimes they'll even sing the harmony of what they're playing. And that's something that I can do and I like doing.
Which is that's what you were doing, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's something I wanted to show, and I did, and it was fun. The mix is always kind of low as far as instrumentally because they want to really showcase the voice on the show. So if it was my thing, I would have cranked the band up and really had that guitar in there more. But yeah, that was something I just wanted to show, and because that song has done so much.
I was pretty sure I never wanted to hear it again on Idol.
Yeah,
It's been done a lot.
because it's done the same way every time. It's not any different. Stevie Wonder sings it that way, and I'm not Stevie Wonder. I'm Clark.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to do it my way, as kind of I do with all the songs.
Top 5 week, I thought, was maybe your first kind of stumble. Like, I thought yesterday, something about it, maybe the vocal wasn't quite as spot on as you always are, because you hadn't hit very many bad notes through the season, but I thought that one. And then the judges didn't really like what you did with Boyfriend, although I thought it was kind of cool and different.
Yeah.
But how did that feel? Like, you've been getting pretty good praise, and then you sort of hit that moment where...
Yesterday, I was really proud of. It was also... it's hard to say it as an arrangement of mine, because all I really changed was the tempo. I kind of went out of tempo on the chorus, on the I said something wrong. That I thought that was really cool. Wrong, no, long. That cool thing. And I can't remember if it's the first note or the last note or both. I think the first note and the last note, I missed the pitch.
Yeah,
wasn't on. Every other note was great and it was spot on, but the very first one and the very last one.
Yeah, when you end on it, I think that's what stuck with me. I was like,
yeah, and so it was really, I really was proud of that performance, and it meant a lot to me. I actually sang it about death, just experiences that I've gone through, and then experiences that I've seen other people go through with death, and that's actually what I was singing about.
Wow.
I had a friend of mine pass away in a car accident. Her name was Kelsey Garner. She passed away a couple years ago. Close friend, went to high school with her. Everyone knew her, and I was thinking of her, and I was thinking of another friend of mine who had lost his wife, and that's kind of what I was thinking of in that performance. And then Boyfriend was Scott's idea, and I thought it was a great idea, because I had done it on YouTube a couple years, 4 years ago, and he thought it was a really cool idea, and I totally agree with him, and I thought it was, I still do, I think it was really good.
Yeah.
So they said they weren't really feeling it, and also this drove me nuts when we would get critiqued on how the song fit the theme, when honestly sometimes we didn't even know the theme till the day of. And what I mean by that, we knew okay, you're singing songs that have been sung in an arena or by an arena artist.
Right.
Okay, great. Then it's the day of the show, and then we find out from the teleprompter that it's called Arena Anthem.
Right.
And then J-Lo's like, I don't know if that's an arena anthem. Like, well, had no idea that was what the thing was called. But at that point, I didn't know. I don't know. I felt really strongly about that performance, and yeah, they weren't so hot on it. And I think that happened a lot, where I felt really strong, and they were like, nope, just kidding.
Does that upset you, or do you just shake it off and think,
wow? I would just shake it off, but eventually it would upset me, because I thought I would do really well, and I didn't think they would, of course, say what I wish they would say,
right.
Which is typical with everything.
Best thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Top 4 week though, you had sort of a clash on camera with Scott, the guy from Rascal Flatts, and I was like, like uncomfortable. Weird moment. You kind of stood your ground though.
I absolutely did.
When you watched Your Man back, did you have any regrets about it? Did you think maybe they had a point, or did you think, well, this is what I wanted to do and I executed it the way I wanted to do it? And how did you feel about that moment playing on screen?
Well,
from behind the scenes?
Scott and I had discussed very thoroughly his belief on the song, and I didn't like it. And I had discussed very thoroughly how I was taking that in, and I just believed that it was still the best thing for me to do. The theme was, I am who I am. So I've got to stay true to who I am,
right.
Of anything. I would have to stand my ground on that theme if I stood my ground on anything.
Yeah. And that was your Gravy, the Gravy
right,
song.
Which was another one we didn't even really know what the theme was called till the day of. But, and we discussed it thoroughly, and I thought we'd finish the conversation. Thought we were all good. We understood each other, great. And then we went to the mentor shoot, and, he's dogging on it again. And again, Scott's very passionate about music, and that's why he's so successful.
Yeah.
And I'm very passionate about music, and that's why I'm successful. So that clash happened again, which I thought we were through with, but lights, camera, mentor, and let's attack, Clark. That's kind of how I felt. That was very frustrating for me, but I was very clear, and I said a lot that wasn't shown just because the edit. It's got to be quick.
Yeah.
You know, it can't. It was like a 15-20 minute conversation.
Wow.
And afterwards, you know, he said this could lose you the competition, and I said very clearly, if this loses me the competition, playing this kind of music, then I don't want to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I believed that would absolutely not lose me the competition. I think people like that kind of stuff. And you can see it in popular music today.
Yeah.
But when it came to, it was funny because a light went out right when I said that when we were filming. And they're like, shoot, shoot, shoot. And then they were like, get the light, fix the light, fix the light. Fix the light. And they were like, okay, Clark, could you just repeat that? And I said, yeah, yes, ma'am. If this, I just said it again. It's like, if this loses. And, but then when it came to performance, so much was just, the whole theme of it was how, it was controversial and how everybody hated it. Instead of having an open mind and, okay, let's listen to some music. The whole theme, before I even opened my mouth, was about how I want to do it, and everyone else says it's bad. And honestly, everyone loved it except the people with a microphone. The judges and Scott. The band loved it, the recording people loved it, the contestants loved it. But honestly, when I actually got to perform it and I watched it back, I don't have any regrets with picking that song,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't execute it well. I didn't sing it. I wasn't singing well when I did it. I didn't sing it as well as I wished. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Can you hear what they're playing before you go on stage like that? Did you know that was playing as your?
I saw it in dress rehearsal.
Okay.
And I was told, I said, hey, when you go up on stage and they're playing the package, make sure you just play your guitar, check your guitar, don't listen to it. Because we have ear monitors,
okay.
And that audio isn't going through
okay.
our ears, but it's going through the house. So we can hear it if we're listening.
Okay.
But he's like, just play your guitar, don't listen to anything.
Interesting.
So that's
because anytime you say like, well, if that's the case, then I don't want to win, people like they glom on that.
Sure.
And then I started wondering, I was like, do you want, after that, did you still want to win, or did you start thinking, maybe I don't want to win because maybe Scott and I aren't going to be a harmonious fit? Did that cross your mind?
Yeah. Honestly, I got really scared because I was scared that I was scared that I was going to win, and I was scared that I wouldn't be able to be who I am as an artist. Then I had some meetings that I talked that out with Scott, with people there, and they quickly assured me, like, listen, we know who you are,
mm-hmm.
and we want you to be who you are, and that's what we want. And
right.
Plus the winner goes to the Women's World Cup, and I'm like, okay, whatever, I've got to win now.
I'm back. I want to win.
Yeah, so it's something I thought I was scared of at first, but at the end of the day, I wanted to win.
Right. Gotcha. Let's talk top 3 week. Earned It. When you heard you're doing Earned It, and the first thing everyone's like, from 50 Shades of Grey, was there any part of you, I know you're a pretty religious guy.
Sure.
I don't know if you've watched 50 Shades of Grey or read it.
Mm-hmm.
I did none of the above, but I basically know what it's about. And the minute I heard like 50 Shades of Grey and Clark, I was like, oh, did you have any like reservations about that, or did you not?
I was familiar with the song, and I'm familiar with the movie, but I knew the song was good, and I went into the lyrics just to read through to make sure there wasn't anything. And I think it's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I didn't have a problem at all singing that song. A lot of people are like, I know they just made you sing that song, and I knew you were suffering and just, crossing yourself and praying and asking forgiveness. Absolutely was not. It's a great song, and I love it.
If you take it out of the context of the movie, it actually is not a particularly racy song anyway.
Music is interpreted.
Yeah.
It can be whatever you want it to be about, and I think I love the song, and I had no reservations of singing it.
I thought that was your best moment that week, and I thought Beautiful Day was maybe your worst moment that week.
I'm with you.
What happened?
Beautiful Day is a great song. It's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not the direction I want to go in. It's a huge song. It's a great song. It's just not me. I sang it as well as I could, and I thought I did thought I did a good job, but at the end of the day, Earned It and Dock of the Bay were my songs. Those were so me, and Beautiful Day, wasn't necessarily.
Is that maybe the one song this season that you, if you had to say was not you, was that the most not you?
That and the Coronation song.
Oh yeah. Should we discuss the Coronation song, or should we just skip it?
Well, whatever you want.
How did you feel when you first sang it? Were you like, is there anything else out there for me?
When I first heard it, I was like, this isn't necessarily my style. And they said, well, this is your victory lap kind of song, like I won American Idol song, and it's also going to be used for the Women's World Cup, right? And I said, oh, okay, so that's what they have in mind. And everyone's song is kind of like this. I'm like, okay, like this doesn't decide who you are as an artist. This is just your kind of victory song. Yay, I won song. And I listened to the lyrics. I looked at the lyrics, and I love the lyrics. Absolutely love the lyrics. So I asked, I was like, well, is there any other option? And they said, no, this is it. I said, okay, I'll put everything I have into it, and I'll kill it. I mean, I'll do I put all I have in it. And, I think I sang it well.
At least it wasn't No Boundaries.
Yeah.
It could always be worse.
Yeah.
That was the worst Idol anthem ever. Did you feel like the other two performances you had to particularly kill, though, because that one was not really about you?
That wasn't part of the motivation to kill the other two performances. No, I didn't think of it. I didn't think of it that way. I knew I had to kill it because Nick had really gained a lot of ground. I mean, he ended the show like for the last 4 weeks or so, and I started it almost every week. So I knew I really had to pick up, including the finale. And he got to end the finale as well, and I started. So I just knew I had to just kill it. I mean, I had to. My plan was to make no doubt that I was the best. That's the competition. At that moment, that's where I was headed.
Last question for you. So you finished second on season 14 of Idol. We've seen people do tremendously well from that platform. We've seen people sort of fade away a little bit. What's your goal, and how are you going to attack your career to make sure you get to where you want to go? And what is success for you? Like, where do you want to go?
Well, if a lot of things could happen at this little moment, this time of my life, I could get signed, and then I'd be with a record label, and then we'd make an album, and we'd push it, and we'd do all this stuff, and I'd tour. If I don't get signed, I'm going to make an album, and I'm going to push it, and I'm going to tour. No matter what, I'm going to be making music, and music from me will be available to the world, period. That's the great thing about technology now, is I've already recorded a couple EPs in my friend's bedroom on his computer and put it out. And so if nothing else, I'll be able to do that. And I'm writing all the time. I've already, the other day on the plane here, I've written down songs that I'd recorded in my phone, and I already have like 12 songs that I've written that I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, this would make a good album, and this one I need to work on, and I'm already working that stuff out. So
you're fairly prolific, it sounds like.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I work really hard, and I'm addicted to hard work. If I'm not really working hard on something, I feel very outside of my comfort zone. I don't like it. So that's what I'm going to do. And I really believe if staying true to myself, I think people really like the music that I'm producing, that's coming out of me. And I think there's a room for it, and a big market for it, and room for it in popular music on the charts. So that's, of course I want success, and I'm going to work hard. And if I don't reach the platform I want to, it will not be because I didn't work hard enough or sing well enough.
Hard work, I think, is possibly number one, then talent at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a song that you've written that will make the album, just to give people a tease of like a song title, like look out for? Sure.
Well, I don't know, if I get signed, then I have to run it by them, because they got to make sure I don't put out, crap.
Right.
Sure. But one song that I really love that I've written just recently is called, it's kind of like the song I wrote about the perfect girl.
Okay.
My perfect girl. And it's called When Will You Fall? When Will You Fall for Me? Is what it's called. So maybe you'll hear that.
That's one to look out for.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming in today. This
Absolutely.
was the geekiest deep dive into music, and loved it, and wish you the best of luck.
Thanks so much.
All right. Internet, we are out of here.